Keep your ear to the ground. What's that sound? The start of the end of a long week. It's the NTT20 betting show where the naughty boys seek some value across a great slate of EFL games, sponsored by AK Bets, Ali Maxwell and George Elek. Those are our names. Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
This is a long week. This morning, it's such a long week. But this morning, I was like, did I not do the Monday pod this week? And I sat there being like, I can't. And then I remembered doing it on my sofa, which was apparently 3 days ago, and it feels like that could have been, I don't know, 4 pods ago. That's where my head's at.
I just feel like in Cheltenham Week, Monday doesn't really exist.
Yeah, or I mean, it's very long. I would say for some of us, the anticipation and the wait. But yes, Monday feels like a dream at this stage.
This show's for over 18s only. As discussed, it's me and George making betting picks ahead of the EFL weekend. Betting comes with significant risks, including losing the money that you stake. So make sure you only bet more than you can afford to lose and that you don't chase your losses. Have a disciplined staking planning that can help with that. Head to gambleaware.org to brush up on all of the risks and some things that you can do to mitigate against them. Last week, I had a nap winner, Sheffield Wednesday, beating Argyle 3-0, 21-20. My next best, Carlisle, lost to Harrogate. My goalscorer, Lewis Wing, did have two efforts against his old foe, JJ Wallacott, but didn't hit the target with either, then scored in midweek, which is also known as Elek syndrome. My long shot, Newport, they took the lead at Chesterfield, only to concede 2 in 2 minutes. As for you, George, Bradford did a Constitution Hill at Gillingham. Morecambe went ahead and then pulled up. MK lost 2-1. Mansfield and BTTS, long shot, travelled well, but 1-1 draw means no returns. And Harry Smith went lame.
Yeah, it's been a bad couple of weeks for me. Yeah, after quite a bad couple of months. So let's see if I can do better this time around.
And not to extend the pain, but couldn't help but notice Bobby Thomas scoring, who you'd picked the weekend before. LR Beatrice crunched the numbers on this. Since January, you've had Colby Bishop, who scored in the next game, Josh Murphy, who scored in the next game, Rob Street, who scored 2 in the next game, and Bobby Thomas. And you also had the Firpo Bogle debacle. What's your...
Yeah, so congratulations to Harry Smith on his goal for Swindon this weekend.
What's your nap?
My nap is in one of the most intriguing, maybe the game of the weekend in the whole of the Championship.
Yes.
Sunday, early kickoff, Sheffield Wednesday host Sheffield United in the Steel City derby. And it is a very big Steel City derby because Wednesday come into it. What's funny now? What have I said?
Just a very big Steel City derby. Some of the biggest steel that Sheffield has seen for generations.
But I mean, for firstly, obviously Sheffield United are in a very perilous position in second in the Championship table. They conceded relatively late against Bristol City with a win, when a win would have put them 4 points clear of Burnley. Burnley dropping points that day, and they now sit 2 points off Leeds in top spot and 2 points clear of Burnley. And crucially, coming into this game on the Sunday, they will know exactly what Leeds and Burnley have done. Like, should Leeds and Burnley step up, then this will be an opportunity for them to capitalise on that. Should they both win, then this becomes a game where they absolutely cannot afford to lose it. So, big for them. For Wednesday, it felt like Wednesday's season was fizzling out, but a remarkable win away at Norwich in midweek, coming back from 2-0 down to win the game 3-2. After an away win last weekend, a resounding away win at Argyle, which you called correctly on Saturday. It means that they're on 51 points, and Coventry and West Brom, who are currently sitting 5th and 6th, are on 56 points. And again, Wednesday will know what happens to those sides, but I think it's fair to say that either this will be a game that they have to win in order to stay close or stay within touching distance to those teams, or it will be an opportunity to get even closer. So, Wednesday's playoff hopes dangling by a thread, but they're in a good position. Well, they've in the last couple of weeks put themselves into a good position to do that. And United's and their automatic promotion credentials are going to come under scrutiny here. So loads is at stake. I'm a bit of a Blades doubter, if I'm honest. I know that a lot of people have pointed out the fact that them and Leeds have picked up the same amount of points now this season after their deduction. But realistically, I think Chris Wilder is eking every single point out of the performances that this side are putting in. I think that the gap between the quality of Leeds and Sheffield United is pretty wide, and that's reflected in the market because Sheffield Wednesday coming into this game are clear favourites against Sheffield United. They are with AK 6-4 to win the game. Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United are 19-10. So like it's not even that tight. Even though I'm a Blades doubter, I think that has to have gone too far. And I think that getting odds against at 21-20, which is the best price in the market with AK, about Sheffield United draw no bet, just has to be the way to play this. Now, we know that underlying numbers are massively included within prices these days. And the market has kind of hated Sheffield United for a long part and for the last few weeks. Like even on Tuesday night, they went off. I think it was like bigger than 2.3 at home to Bristol City. For context sake, if Leeds were playing at home to Bristol City this week, they would be 1.65, like heavy odds on. So the market has a massive gap between Leeds and Sheffield United. That also can be seen in the outright prices where they're massively odds on favourite. But Wednesday come into this and they're being back for this, having won their last two away games. But Sheffield Wednesday are really good travellers under Danny Rowe. But at Hillsborough are really struggling to play in front of their own fans. They haven't won a game at Hillsborough in their last five. And the teams that have travelled to them in that time are Millwall, Bristol City, Luton, Coventry and Sunderland. They lost against Coventry and Sunderland and they've drawn the other three of those games. Conversely, Sheffield United are a team that seemingly absolutely adore playing away from home. They've won all of their last five away games and they've won 7 of their last 8. I think this is a bit of a perfect storm, really, where you've got a Wednesday side who've put a hell of a lot of work into 2 away games. But, you know, that is where they generally tend to pick up most of their points up against a Blades side who are very good travellers, where I think the market has gone too far in doubting them. So, you know, even though I understand why Sheffield United and Leeds, for example, are so far apart in the market, I think there comes a point where 37, 38 games is enough to judge how good a side are. Well, it's hard to be, in my mind, it's hard for Sheffield United to be as mediocre as the market seems to think they are and still pick up points at the rate they currently are. And the perceived home and away advantage in this case doesn't really seem to tally. And, you know, it's a derby game, and generally derby games are relatively low scoring, in which case the draw comes into it massively, and you know, you're taking that out of action with the draw no bet. So yeah, Steel City derby, Sheffield United draw no bet at 21-20 is my nap.
I actually just saw the form book flying past my window, such as the nature of this derby game. It is a big old Steel City derby. Let's not throw the form back out the window. Let's look at the form and see exactly what's happening, and think it's going to continue. Yeah, the form book suits us here, so we like the form book.
Throw the data book out the window.
See you later. .xls spreadsheet for this one. Yeah, I'm talking about this big Steel City derby later in a long shot, which is a Trixie, in which the treble price is 809-1.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. My nap is Charlton to win to 0. AK Bets offering 7-5, 2.4 the decimal for this eventuality. They're at home to Wigan Athletic, and this has landed in 8 of Charlton's 18 games at the Valley this season in the league. 44% of their home games they've won to 0. But because Charlton have pretty famously been getting better and better and better incrementally all season, it's landed in 5 of their last 6 games at the Valley, where they are, I was going to say electric at the moment, but that probably misrepresents how the games look. They are excellent at the moment. That is certainly true. And they are so solid at home, conceding just 3 in their last 10 home games at the Valley. They are locked in right now. And the quotes that have been doing the rounds from Nathan Jones in midweek, gone nicely viral because they're a bit weird, as they quite often are. But there is a reason for Jones doing this sort of stuff. I think there's a truth about Nathan Jones, which is that this sort of thing that he does is both a positive and beneficial and powerful in the right setting, in the right circumstances, at the right club at the right time, and has also been a massive issue for him at Southampton and perhaps at Stoke, where conditions and circumstances were very different. I think the words that he said in midweek about players not going to the shopping centre and going bowling and going to Costa Coffee with their other halves, instead of being something that freaks the players out, I think this is going to galvanise even further, focus the minds. I don't see Charlton's winning run personally as one of those where it's heavily leaning on some fortune and it'll end, this weekend or beyond. I think the improvement in the attacking stats is so important. The fact of them being so good defensively and just excellent physically, it's a Nathan Jones team at his best, and it's a really strong squad for the level. Now they're hosting Wigan, who've changed manager, and they've hired Ryan Lowe on Wednesday. A good appointment in my opinion, one that we'll break down in depth on the Monday show. But Ryan Lowe will have a watching brief for this game. Glenn Whelan, Frankie Bunn, Graham Barrow taking interim charge of the team. I bet he bloody will, George. I wonder if this is the earliest a manager's been hired and still been able to sit out his first game. Wednesday afternoon, Saturday 3 p.m. I like the idea that they said, we'd like to offer you the job today, Ryan. Go public if that's all right. First game on Saturday, you're up for that? And he's gone, yeah, for sure. Who have we got? Well, with Charlton away, they've won 12 of their last 17 and 5 of their last 6 at home to 0. And he's gone, I tell you what, Glenn's done a couple of great bits of work as interim. Why don't we give him and the gang one last go?
I reckon it's like, I can't be asked for a glass of wine with Nathan afterwards. Do you know what? I'll start Monday.
Charlton win to 0, 7-5, with Lowe not in the dugout. I'm not necessarily expecting some, mad bump in performances just on account of him having been appointed and announced. They played what I thought was quite a bizarre team against Cambridge in their 1-0 win last weekend. It was a team that looked very defensive in nature without a huge amount of attacking threat. I assume they'll do similar here because they'll have to try and stop Charlton. They'll be defending for a lot of this game, and I just struggle to see how they'll have consistent attacking threat to harm this very strong Charlton defence. So Charlton win to 0, 7-5, my nap. Next best.
Haha. This could come back and bite me. You'd think I'd learn. I'm putting up Oxford to beat Watford at 19-10 as my next best, which is at odds with the general fan feeling of the club that I support, and is yet another case of me taking on Watford.
Not like you to zag where others are zigging, George.
I mean, it's obviously just a price thing. Like I just don't agree that coming into this game, Watford are the likelier winners than Oxford are. And there's a few reasons for that. I mean, firstly, Oxford haven't won in 9 games, and that is troubling. And there was a time that our performances 4 or 5 games ago completely justified that. I think we've turned a bit of a corner. I think the performance away at Norwich was pretty good, especially from a defensive standpoint, where having equalised to make the game 1-1, Norwich created very, very little, and Jamie Cumming only had 1 save to make of note from Borja Sainz. And Norwich, we know, even when they're not at their best, are still a very good attacking side, especially against poorer teams in the division at home. At Hull last night, I was there. We lost the game 2-1. We took the lead from a set piece. We offered very little in terms of attacking threat and open play, but causing trouble from set pieces. But crucially, and the reason why I'm a bit more positive than most people, Hull created very, very little in the game as well. Very little of note. Louis Cole came close with a volley early in the first half, and they created 2 chances after going behind, and effectively took both. One was from Joe Gelhardt, the other one was very clever play from Gustavo Puerta as he just kind of rifled the ball at Jamie Cummings' legs from the byline, and it ricocheted in. But on the balance of play, I'd say we've been unlucky to concede 3 goals in those 2 games. And even though it's frustrating a lot of Oxford fans, my hunch and my theory is that Gary Rowett basically knows that if Oxford can only concede 5-6 goals in the next 9 games, and the chances are we're going to stay up because clean sheets yield points, and we cause enough problems from set pieces to trouble teams. Watford are not particularly good travellers. They don't win loads of games on the road, albeit it was an impressive performance when they beat Middlesbrough a couple of weeks ago. And they're a side that I continue to be pretty against. And the market has been relatively anti-Watford fairly consistently. But in this case, I think off the back of last night's results, Watford have been backed overnight, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if that gets reversed over the coming days. The other thing to point out is that even though Oxford's run of results is quite clearly very poor, the performances at home, even though they're winless in three, have still been pretty good. Like Oxford's best performance in the last 9 games was the second half against Coventry. Again, they lost 3-2, but showed way more attacking intent in previous games. There was a 2-0 defeat against Pompey where it was a case of missing multiple open goals. We're missing two absolute sitters when the score was 1-0. So it's missed chances rather than not creating chances at home compared to away from home, where that's not necessarily the case. And in my mind, we're still a way better team at home than we are on the road. So, Gary Rowett is a pretty canny operator. Tom Cleverley's doing an amazing job, but in this case, I just don't agree, and I think the market is way too reactive on a couple of very marginal victories and defeats over the last couple of weeks. And as I say, I think if Oxford put in a similar level of performance as we did against Coventry, even against Portsmouth, then I fancy us to get something from the game, and at nearly 2-1 about a home win. I think Saturday could be the day that run of 9 without a win might come to an end. And the other thing to mention is it has to, because the gap between Oxford and the relegation zone has been cut from 9 points to 4 points now, and a defeat ahead of the international break. Depending on what teams below us do, a win on Saturday would be as seismic as it feels like last night's defeat was.
Yeah, otherwise we're getting quite close to Mick McCarthy meme territory of like, well, it can't get any worse than 5 of the bottom 6 winning and us losing in midweek. And he's like, it can. West Brom to beat Hull's my next best at 10-11. Probably not something I expected to be picking on my way down the docket, but just think this is a bit too big about West Brom, so I'm going to back it. That's what the game is, isn't it? It's what the show is.
Betting and better.
Hull can freak you out a little bit, I think. Headline results at Bramall.
Freaked me out last night.
Yes. Headline results at Bramall Lane and at Stadium of Light. They drew with Leeds as well at home. Add to that a bit of buzz about Ruben Say Yes, partially created by you on How Do You Manage Episode 1. But they're not that good, Hull. They beat Oxford, they beat Argyle previously.
They were poor last night. I mean, both teams were poor, but there was nothing. There's some moments of impressive individual play from Gelhardt, from Kamara, but it wasn't a particularly conducive team performance, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, that kind of tallies with how I see them. Recently, they lost at Cardiff. They lost 2-0 at Burnley, so they're not like completely flawless against the top teams. They lost at home to Stoke as well. Away from home since the turn of the year, they have faced in 6 away games 15.6 shots per game, and they've taken 6.8. Huge discrepancy between the amount of shots that they're taking and facing. And yes, they are good on the break and they want to play in transition, but it just means there are lots of chances to score against them. And they've played the last 3 midweeks as well. They did miss a weekend game because of FA Cup fixtures, but I think with that midweek win against Oxford being one of those huge efforts, like big full-time scenes, emotional celebrations, given everything to win that massive game, I think it might be tough for them to go again at the Hawthorns, where West Brom have been strong all season. 9 wins out of 18, 34 points. They've only conceded 11 goals from 18 home games. And I think results and performances under Mowbray have been up and down, but I've been impressed with their performances, particularly at Burnley, at Leeds recently, drawing away at both. They beat QPR last week, had 10 men for the whole second half after scoring a penalty in the first, dominated Oxford in the last home game before that. And I think they're in good shape. Luke, who's a West Brom fan on the squad, pleased in midweek, saying we're building in confidence under Mowbray. Togetherness is growing. Lots of changes last night, but those coming in justified their selection. Diakite, Swift, Grant, Dean Garner, Lancashire got minutes off the bench. Bartley had a rest. Callum Stiles is playing really well at left back. So I'm pro West Brom this weekend, and so I'm pleased to be getting 10-11 for them to beat Hull with that extra day's rest as well. I just thought they'd be getting down to a price I would probably not put up on this sort of show, but I think 10-11 is acceptable, so that's my next best. For anyone looking to sign up to AK Bets, you can use promo code NTT100. You can also just click the link in the show notes, and that'll take you to the site with the sign-up offer code applied. The offer is, if your first bet is an accumulator on football with a minimum of 4 selections, AK Bets will boost the profit gained on that initial bet by 25% in the form of a free bet up to a value of £100. Further T's and C's accessible on the website, and do click the link in the description to take advantage of the sign-up offer. Who's your goal scorer?
Ali Al-Hamidi, who scored in midweek for Stoke in their 1-0 win over Brentford. certainly not Brentford, in their 1-0 win over Blackburn. He's 9-2 to score any time at Millwall. And
Yeah, I saw this.
I think that's just pretty crazy, really. He's going to start up front. He's going to play 80 minutes. Uh, there's something about Millwall where all their games have an incredibly low goal line, which I assume is why basically all Stoke players are massive prices to score in this game. They've scored 2 in their last away game, and deservedly so. They were good at Coventry. I think Millwall at home under Alex Neil will look to take the game to Stoke. Mark Robbins is in no way a defensive manager. There's no way no way in my mind that whoever starts up front for Stoke should be 9-2 score any time in this game. It's wrong in my mind. There aren't too many ways to dress it up. And also, Ahmadi's a very good player who's had some injury troubles. He's getting back into form and fitness now, and I'm sure after having a pretty difficult time of things recently, if he is to, a return to scoring ways is going to do him the world of good.
Anytime goal scorer for me, 3-1 in League Two, Rob Street, former pick of yours, who scored 2 in the game after.
This is annoying.
Yeah, Rob Street, since he joined Donny, scoring goals, 6 of them, depending on which site you look at. Some say 7, some say 6. There's a goal that Jamie Sterry struck from range that basically hit Street and flew into the top corner. Some people giving it to him, some people aren't. I'm not here to lend my weight to either party. But basically, any time has landed in 6 of 12 league apps for Donny. I think he's the most dangerous striker in League Two at the moment. And I think that's pretty easily summed up by the fact that of players to have played 600 minutes or more since the date he joined on the 3rd of Jan, he has the highest XG per 90 at 0.54 XG per 90, the next best being Jata, 0.45. But he also has the highest non-penalty goals per 90 by miles. 0.73 per 90 with Alex Pattison second at 0.54 and Jamil Matt at 0.46. So for me, it's the most dangerous striker in League Two at the moment at 3-1 to score at a team in Crewe who have kept just 2 clean sheets in their last 10. 15 goals conceded. They've conceded 3 or more 3 times in the last 10. Dimitri is missing for them, or at least he has been for the last 7 games, not in the squad, so expect him to still be out here unless he's made a miraculous recovery. And they've conceded 12 in the 7 games he's missing. I think he's a huge miss in terms of defending their box. In 4 of Street's 7 starts, he's had 4 shots or more. I'd hope he has a couple here, and the form that he's in, I back him to score at 3-1. George, get your Rob Street name by selecting your favourite act of crime.
Ooh, that's got to be quite careful with that one.
By selecting an act of crime.
Okay, that's a much better one, I think. Thank you. Okay.
And another word for a path leading from one place to another.
Broad Road.
Fraud Road. Fuck, that's your address as well. That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's excellent. Murder Avenue. Nice to meet you.
Whoa, that's a bit much.
What's your long shot?
Bit much.
Oh, obviously, comment on Spotify or on YouTube. Let us know what your Rob Street name is. We really want to hear them.
This week is Cheltenham races, and I'm basically gonna give a tip based on racing terminology.
Okay.
Birmingham are miles clear in League One. Absolutely miles clear. They are 14 points clear with 11 games left to play. The title is all but won. Is there a chance that they're starting to idle out in front just a little bit? Like, they have very little to play for now. And even though the results have remained pretty good, I wouldn't necessarily say the performances have been amazing. Looking at their recent away games, they were beaten by Bolton 3-1 last time out. They drew away at Reading. They drew away at Wrexham. They won 2 games in between that against Huddersfield, a woefully out of form Huddersfield, so just 1 game because the Stevenage game was in the paint pot, and they beat Huddersfield 1-0 away from home. They in the league have also been it's been a case all season, but we've seen quite a lot of penalties being scored that have been quite essential to them picking up points. And they travelled to a Northampton side who are absolutely bouncing at the moment.
Are
Kevin
they?
Nolan. Are they not?
Yeah, yes, sorry, yeah. I'm just really enjoying I can see you looking at Birmingham's form line and being like, how can I say that all these wins are like not really?
No, I just said there's only one win.
Yeah,
I
okay.
still got one win, one league win in the last four away games.
Hmm.
What's so
Yeah.
hard to understand? That's one win. Northampton, on the other hand, are enjoying life immensely under Kevin Nolan. He, I think, has brought not only the kind of performances that were needed to get them out of relegation scrap, which I think they are now. They're 8 points clear of 21st. But the performances have been good, and the fans have massively bought into him and what he's doing. And I think they'll really relish this. I think they'll be excited to welcome Birmingham to town. I think they'll fancy their chances of causing a bit of an upset. And frankly, for Birmingham, it's just not overly relevant now. And I think we're starting to see a bit, cracks maybe in their performances that and all season away from home they haven't been as strong as they've been at home. Um, and having lost their last away game, I just think 11-2 about a Northampton win, where you know, as I say, for Northampton, this would be a bit of a moment in this early year under Kevin Nolan, and he'll be absolutely desperate to win it up against a side that I'm not entirely sure are bang at it right now. I know, earlier on in the season, I was looking to take on Birmingham at any opportunity. This isn't really that. Like, there's no questioning their quality when you look at the league table and the performances and how relentlessly good they are at home. And to be clear, if they were playing at home against basically anyone in the league, I wouldn't fancy them because their dominance at St Andrews is massive. But I still think away from home all season, they haven't been anywhere near the best team in the league. And I think there's a fair chance between now and the end of the season, they come unstuck in a couple more of these away games. So why not this one?
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if my long shot was indirectly influenced by Cheltenham Festival, in that I've been hearing stories of friends winning like year-changing bets on Cheltenham Trixies. So I think I've got Trixies on the mind. And
Here we go.
I think every now and then on the show, you've got to just go for a generational pick, like just in case. So it's a Trixie with 3 1-0 scorelines, all for the away team. The doubles range between 80-1 and 89-1, and the treble is at 809-1. All the picks are either 8-1 or 9-1. The logic here is these are all games that I expect to be tight affairs. There's quite a lot running on these games in terms of the season situation, pressure and tension, lots on the line, nerves jangling. And first and foremost, I think for all 6 of these teams, the initial game plan will be keep it tight, don't lose this one early on. The first leg is in League One. It's Shrewsbury 0, Burton 1, correct score. I think that, neither of these teams have a great chance of staying up, but clearly Shrewsbury are as good as gone, whereas Burton are the ones still with a faint flickering of hope. And I think they're the better team of the two, and I think they have more goal threat. I don't expect this to be a good game. I don't expect this to be a game full of chances and goalmouth action. But Burton have only failed to score in 2 of their last 12. I think they have the better attacking threats in terms of personnel, with Burrell. I'll beat Burrell up front. JJ McKinnon's been great. Charlie Webster's been good from midfield. And Shrews have lost 9 games 1-0 in 36 this season. A quarter of all of their games have ended in a 1-0 defeat. I think that sums them up fairly well. And I think hope has pretty much evaporated. So I think Burton could take advantage of that and win 1-0. Now, the second leg is the pick that shocks the world, in that I'm picking a correct score of Colchester 0, Fleetwood 1. So this is Maxwell
Agenda.
League 2 stance versus Elek League 2 stance. And I want to say that overall, I think it's very clear that I was more right getting behind Colchester United this season than you were to get behind Fleetwood this season, particularly at the pre-season prices.
It's not finished yet, is it?
Well, I think it's becoming clear who was showing better long-term vision there.
What's the gap?
I think it's 4 or 5 points at the moment.
Yeah, so if you're right here, it goes to 2 or something. There we go, and then it's anyone's game.
We'll be all right? Me and Cole, you will be fine here. But there's just something about the price here of 9-1 where I think when there's a team with this kind of unbeaten run, by which I mean a Colchester unbeaten run, where the 4 wins in a row have all been by a single goal, getting progressively tighter and tighter, and then the 3 games before that were all draws, 1-1, 1-1 and 0-0. I just always think there's one coming where they concede a goal, might not even be their fault, could be a worldie from Ryan Graydon, and then they struggle to get back in the game because they haven't sort of had it up them. I think also there's an aspect of potential fatigue here. They played against Port Vale in midweek. They're missing McDonnell, who's their big legs and ball winner in the centre of the park, who's suspended. They're a bit patched up in terms of their team on in midweek. And there was the kind of emotional overload of that late winner against Port Vale, huge scenes. I just think it could be a game too far for Colchester, and I think Fleetwood are tracking all right under Pete Wild and could be in a good position to nick a 1-0 win at a juicy price. They're in good form themselves, have won their last 2 away at Crewe and at Gillingham, not easy places to win. So, it's 9-1 for a reason, but that's the logic behind that one. And then finally we're back at the big Steel City. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Sheffield United 1. Your nap being Sheffield, draw no bet, so this works well with that. The last 4 Sheffield derbies, well, the last one was 1-0 to Sheffield United this season. The 3 previous were 0-0. There's a way that this game tends to look, and with the extra pressure of the league table situation, as you summed it up, I don't see a world where this is a game with a high goal expectancy. 9 of Sheffield United's games this season have been a 1-0 win, 24%. That is a regular scoreline for them because of the way that they play. They only need a half chance for Tyrese Campbell because he's such a good finisher. Maybe it's Gus Harmer scoring from range. They've got quality like that. Then there's the Wednesday record against top teams this season. Every single game they've played against the top 4, they have lost. 6 of those they've lost to 0, losing 2-1 to Sunderland the other night. Their record against top 10 teams is really, really poor, and I like Sheffield United to edge this one by 1-0, again at a decent price. So the Trixie that I'm backing, doubles and trebles, still a 1-point play, so don't make the mistake that it's easey to make of, getting overexcited with a Trixie, sticking 4 points on by mistake. Stick to your staking plan. So it's 0.25 points on each of the legs here. The doubles and the treble. Shrewsbury 0, Burton 1. Colchester 0, Fleetwood 1, and Sheffield Wednesday 0, Sheffield United 1. With AK bets as the prices as we record, you'll get 810 the treble.
Ooh,
you'll get between 80-1 and 90-1 the 2 doubles.
Prices.
And it's worth pointing out that the Sheffield derby is on Sunday, so I guess all I really care about here is hitting one of the 3 p.m s on Saturday and go into that with a live shot.
If both Saturday games finish 1-0, will you travel to the Steel City to watch the game on Sunday?
No, but shall I say yes? But no.
Or will you watch the game in a central London pub with any listeners that want to come and watch with you?
I'm meant to be seeing my family on Sunday.
What, your pod family, the listeners?
Let's see how we go. Let's cross that bridge at 5 p.m. on Saturday. Finish off with a combo bet, 28-1 double with AK bets. You can back it on the special section, and it's a 28-1 Win and BTTS double. Who are you picking?
I'm picking Bolton, and it doesn't matter who they're playing in my mind. But they're playing Stockport, but I don't really care about Stockport. I mean, they could be playing anyone in the whole league here, and I'd be pretty putting Bolton forward for this because under Stephen Schumacher, their games are frankly absurd. They're a run of their recent games, a 4-3 win over Crawley, which is how it all began when they were 3-1 down late in the second half, won it for 4-3. A 3-2 win at Shrewsbury, a 2-1 win against Leyton Orient, a 0-0 draw against Wrexham, where they just a million chances and the total XG of over 3. A 3-1 win over Birmingham, a 2-1 win over Burton, and then a 3-2 defeat on Tuesday night at Bristol Rovers. The games are stupidly end-to-end. They're on the right side of most of them. Only the Bristol Rovers game in midweek where they've come unstuck, having gone behind in that game 3 times. It feels like an absolute BTTS banker in my mind. And more often than not, they're the ones who come out and win the game. It's a big price, the single. So I think it's, 92 about the single 2. But yeah, going into our double. Obviously it's a big price for the single. That's why I'm putting it in. Bolton and BTTS at home Stockport is my addition to this double.
So I kind of see Coventry as the Bolton of the Championship at the moment, in that they've been winning lots of games. The games have been quite entertaining, and BTTS has landed in their last 4 wins. But I'm backing against them So the logic is similar to your Bolton pick in the way that the games are playing out, but I don't think it's necessarily sustainable for Coventry to keep winning them, and they're at home to Sunderland. Massive game in the Championship, loads of history behind it, and I'm picking Sunderland and BTTS. Yes, at 9-2 is the single. The double is 28-1 with AK bets. I think despite their incredible run of wins under Lampard, it's pretty clear that Coventry are still fairly easy to get at defensively. They haven't kept a clean sheet since the QPR game on the 11th of Feb. That's 5 in a row where they've conceded. The high line is such that any good transition team should be licking their lips, and we have one of the best around. And in particular with either Isidore or Mayenda, or both, as has been the case recently, there are two of the best strikers in the league for making the most of a high line with good movement and good passing behind them. So, there's a bit of a weird thing about Sunderland in my eyes at the moment, where it's very clear that they've dropped out of the race for top two. That lends to this idea, maybe the narrative, that they're not playing well and that they're losing a lot of games. But actually, bizarrely, if you look at the league table since the 1st of January, Coventry are top of it with Sheffield United on 28 points from 13 games, Burnley on 27, Leeds on 28 as well, and then Sunderland on 25 from their 13 games. Almost 2 PPG, only 2 defeats. I don't really understand how they can be not playing terribly, but now be almost completely outside the top 2 battle. But it gives me hope that they can put together a good performance and a win and BTTS at Coventry in what I'm expecting to be an entertaining and an open game. The double. Sunderland and BTTS, yes. Bolton and BTTS, yes. 28-1. Backable on the specials tab of the football section of the AK Bets website. George, recap your selections and let's head off.
My nap is Sheffield United, draw no bet at Sheffield Wednesday at 21-20. Oxford United to beat Watford at 19-10 is my next best. Ali Al-Hamadi of Stoke City to score anytime at 9-2 away at Millwall is my goal scorer. And 11-2 Northampton at home against Birmingham is my long shot.
Nap Charlton to win 2-0 against Wigan, 7-5 with AK Bets. My next best is a simple West Brom to beat Hull, 10-11. Rob Street, 3-1 anytime. For Donny at Crewe is my goal scorer pick. And my long shot is a Trixie, 3-1-0 scorelines to the away teams. Shrewsbury 0, Burton 1, Colchester 0, Fleetwood 1. And then on Sunday, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Sheffield United 1. That's been great fun. And the double is 28-1. Sunderland and BTTS, Bolton and BTTS. It's been a hell of a week. I hope you've enjoyed Cheltenham races. Let's see how we go this weekend. Thanks to AK Bets for sponsoring the pod. Go well.